It's estimated that over 21 million people have seen this near viral video. Have you? Well, I've just updated it with the 5 critical triggers that could save your family from disaster, so you need to see this right now. Let's face it, if you're watching this video, then you're probably the undeclared hero in your household. In other words, if the it hits the fan, your family will look to you to provide safety and comfort. So let me ask you, do you have the 37 items sold out after a crisis? If you don't, you may be too late. How will you explain to your loved ones that you didn't take these simple steps and you don't have the food and other critical items needed to survive? And don't play the "it won't happen here" card. That's total BS. We've seen how weather is getting crazier and the world is becoming less stable. It won't take much to set off the mobs of people emptying store shelves of the critical items your family will need. But you're not going to see this reported on CNN, NBC, or even Fox News. This is breaking news that you're only going to get here, so listen closely. At the 2-minute mark of this video, you will find out exactly how deep the conspiracy goes. And here's a hint. It's a lot deeper than most people think. So here it is. Underground U.S. disaster experts have uncovered 5 unstoppable triggers pushing America to the brink of disaster. This confirms there's a perfect storm of disasters brewing fast. Trigger number 1. It's easier than ever for rogue terrorists, drug cartels, and foreign threats to cross our borders. The Boston Marathon bombing is a great example of just how exposed we are. Trigger number 2. Tensions with North Korea could boil into a nuclear bloodbath at any moment, and Iran isn't far behind. Negotiating with psychopathic dictators bent on hurting U.S. citizens is a no-win situation. Eventually, something has to give. Trigger number 3. Government control and civil unrest. As U.S. citizens, we're losing our rights and privacy faster than any other time in history. Gun legislation, the Patriot Act, talk of controlling the internet. The government is cramping down on our civil liberties at an unprecedented rate. When I recently surveyed my top 100,000 customers, I wasn't surprised to see government control and civil unrest as the #1 fear. The growing fear of civil unrest makes sense. We've seen what happens in Europe when you take away free stuff like entitlement services from the people. And if this is finally the year the U.S. starts to see massive food inflation and food shortages, you can bet there will be anger in the streets. Civil unrest could be the new norm. That's just the tip of the iceberg. We'll get to the other 2 triggers in a second. See, every day more and more concerned patriots are picking up on what's going on around us. You've probably known for a long time something big was coming. Well, you're not the only one. Out of the 21 million people who have already watched this video, many have started prepping for the disaster. It's common sense. As America wakes up, prepping is becoming the norm. Network news stations talk about prepping, and FEMA has ad campaigns on stocking food, water, and batteries, not to mention primetime TV shows like Doomsday Preppers. I've seen survival gear in Sharper Image stores, Target, and many other places. And of course, you can always buy your emergency food buckets at Costco. But here's the problem. Most people are spending hundreds, if not thousands of dollars on the wrong things. There are actually just 37 critical food items you need to survive any disaster, and it's urgent you find out what those 37 items are now. Because once a disaster hits, it'll be too late to get them. Grocery stores carry less than a 3 to 4 days supply of food. And this is gone in just minutes when the mobs of unprepared people rush to the stores at just the hint of a pending crisis. Now, in case you don't know me, my name is Damian Campbell. And over the past 3 years, my sole mission has been to prepare America to survive this perfect storm of disasters. It started out with sharing this stockpiling blueprint with close friends here in Colorado. But the demand for my list of the 37 critical items seemed to spread like wildfire. Once word got out, thousands of people per week all across the U.S. were claiming their copy of the stockpiling blueprint. Now we have customers in over 40 different countries. Oddly enough, this has gotten a lot of media attention too. My call to arms has been seen on stations like Newsmax, Town Hall, Personal Liberty, and Fox News, to name a few. The news spread quickly, and as of today, over 220,000 people have received the list of 37 critical items to hoard. Now it's your turn to get your hands on it. And you'll get the most updated list, version 4.2. After 3 years, I've gone back and updated this list of 37 crucial items. And from the feedback I'm getting, this is the best version of this blueprint yet. This letter came from Brenda F., Mount Dora, Florida. Love that someone out there is actually providing true facts regarding what we face here in this country and how I can make sure my family survives. Thank you, Damien. This is what you need to know before the "it" hits the fan, writes Randall G., Winnipeg, Canada. I thought it was excellent. I am a 23-year disaster services volunteer for the American Red Cross and have dealt with many horrific disasters. Valerie H., North Attleboro, Massachusetts. And the timing couldn't be better. Not only is our country facing terror threats, war with Korea, and a civil liberty lockdown, it's got two more near unstoppable crisis triggers looming. The fourth trigger is our own sun. The sun has spawned some powerful solar flares, rocketing toward the Earth at more than 600 miles per second. And NASA predicts it's less than 14.7 turns away from launching an unstoppable coronal mass ejection that can send billions of tons of solar particles hurtling straight toward the Earth, affecting satellites and even damaging our electrical grid. Imagine living with no electricity for a few months. And the fifth and final trigger is one the entire world has noticed. Mother Nature has gone haywire. Mutant superstorms and hurricanes such as Irene and Sandy have smashed through cities, turning its residents into mobs of powerless people. Then you have droughts and rapid spreading fires that have raged across the U.S., and flooding has destroyed countless homes and even families. I hate to say this, but you haven't seen anything yet. Experts are saying this is just the beginning, and we can expect more weather disasters with greater intensity going forward. Now, these 5 triggers aren't the only threats America is facing. They're just the more well-known. We don't have time to get into the mountain of possible disasters, aging infrastructure, debt default, and cyber attacks that could hit. What you've got to understand is with one tiny push, these seemingly unrelated catastrophic events could align and leave U.S. citizens powerless to defend themselves. But it's not just America. The entire world would be in a dangerous position. We could be on the brink of a crisis that would dwarf anything we've seen in the past 100 years. Washington's picking up on this too. The government hasn't said a word, but just look at what they've reportedly been doing. The Department of Homeland Security is stockpiling enough bullets to fight the Iraq War for 23 years, but DHS made this purchase for domestic purposes. What in the world did they need all that ammo for? FEMA reportedly put in an order for 420 million emergency food meals, which is a 7,000% increase over their normal numbers. More on this coming up next. Local law enforcement agencies are stocking up on more and more tactical equipment like armored troop carriers, mini-tanks, and grenade launchers. The state of Georgia is estimated to have $200 million worth of military surplus. But in the middle of these uncertain times, most people are actually stocking up on the wrong survival items. That means thousands of dollars spent, but they still don't have what they need. The truth is, whatever all the fear peddlers, big agencies, and conspiracy buffs try to say, there are really only 37 critical food items you need, and you must hoard these items now. With them, you can securely survive the coming disaster. But now that you know the dangers and triggers that could cause this crippling chain reaction, it's time to step up. Your family needs a hero, and your wife, kids, and grandkids are going to look to you to fill that role. You can't dodge it, ignore it, or pass it off. This is your job. You've got to get started right now, or it could be too late. Just ask the men in these recent disasters who dropped the ball or thought nothing's going to happen. In Hurricane Sandy's aftermath, women and children were dumpster diving for food. Don't be a father lurking in the shadow in shame. In Hurricane Katrina, looters ran wild, shops and stores shut down. Families were either forced to mooch off neighbors, evacuate to FEMA camps, or go hungry. What's going to happen to your family? You can either use these 37 items to keep your family safe, secure, and happy, or wait until store shelves are stripped bare, your family is hungry and afraid, and try to explain why you just couldn't get around to grabbing 37 simple items, even though 220,000 Americans already have. Now, we've all seen how badly FEMA handles disasters. Personally, I don't want a handout from anyone, and I certainly don't want to rely on a FEMA relief camp. So if you decide you're going to take matters into your own hands and get what your family needs to survive, I'm happy to help. To get you started, here are 6 must-know survival food tips. First off, you're killing your family if you're counting on a garage full of MREs or other survival food to get you through a disaster. And second, why the food your wife normally buys is almost perfect, but the thing she hasn't thought to buy is crucial. That's caught me off guard when I found out. Third, and super important, is why your food is worthless if you buy the wrong packaging. Trust me, there's nothing more demoralizing than finding your carefully packed food crawling with maggots and realizing your family is going to go hungry. And fourth, how to pack your food like a Special Forces soldier so your family will have the basics even if you have to run. Fifth, how to tell if you're going to make your family sick by eating expired food or if it'll be just as good as the day it was packaged. By the way, this is extremely important for long-term disasters like a food crisis. And oddly enough, sixth, why this brand of alcohol should be at the top of your list even if you don't drink. See, right now people look down on us patriots who take the obvious dangers seriously and are getting ready. Sometimes their neighbors or even family say we're crazy or kooky. But here's what I think. People may say we're nuts now, but we'll see who was right when they're asking us for help, and we won't even have to say, I told you so. See, there'll be no way to buy any of these critical items after a disaster. You know that, and I know that. But spoiled, rotten Americans think that they can snap their fingers and get whatever they want. The fact of the matter is, it doesn't matter how rich, popular, or politically correct you are. When people are starving and panicking, you're not going to get what you need without a fight. That's why you must get these 37 crucial food items before the panic. And it's also why we're going to be the people on top of the game when crisis hits. See, with these 37 items, you'll be able to be a community leader ready to protect and provide for your fellow patriots. And not only that, but you'll set the example for your close friends and family. These 37 items are so important you'll become the disaster go-to guy. And the great thing is, these 37 items won't break the bank. Really, the only way to screw this up is to wait. If you don't have them in advance, you're sunk. The fact of the matter is, when disaster hits, many stores will close, and coddled Americans will panic. But for some strange reason, some Americans try to pretend nothing is going to happen or there's no reason to freak out. And they're the first ones to run to the store and strip the shelves bare as soon as the news even mentions crazy weather. Imagine if they announce something like 9/11 again. How do you think they're going to act when their favorite grocery store has its windows smashed and nothing left on the shelves? You know exactly what they'll do. Start a panic and loot every store around. But more on that in a second. What I can't understand is why they're ignoring the evidence. Weird conspiracy theories aren't my cup of tea, but the factual evidence here is different. It's obvious you need these 37 critical food items now. Just take a look at these recent news bulletins. Researcher Kent Arnsperger recently exposed grocery stores for their poor planning. They only carry 3 to 4 days worth of food. That's gone in mere hours or even minutes during a crisis, so you won't be able to get your hands on things your family needs to live, unless you have them in advance. And the Mayo Clinic recommends you drink about 2 liters of water every day. How much water would you have if, God forbid, terrorists poisoned our water supply or nuclear fallout made rainwater undrinkable? And worst of all, Fox News reports lack of acreage in the U.S. will usher in a significant food shortage. Not to mention the fact Off the Grid News reported the U.S. government recently put in an order for a 10-day supply of food for 14 million people. That means 420 million emergency meals. Maybe that doesn't seem like a big deal, but when you compare it to the 6 million meals normally on hand, it brings up a disturbing question. As an observant American, I have to ask the question you're probably thinking. Why the sudden 7,000% increase? When you add all that up, how people can't see the obvious truth is beyond me. But the part that really bugs me is, when a disaster strikes, who do you think all these clueless freeloaders are going to try and come to? You guessed it. You and your family who were wise enough to stock up on the necessities before the crisis. There's no way to deny that food prices have been skyrocketing, which makes it even more important to buy these 37 critical items before the prices go even higher. And if you think food is expensive now, imagine what it'll be like when stores shut down and farms can't feed their livestock. After all, when your family is hungry and you know you can't restock anytime soon, would you sell even a scrap of food? Heck no. And if you were going to sell some of your precious food, how much would you charge? Would you take credit? That food would be worth its weight in gold, literally. That means if your family is less than rich or even in some debt right now, you need to buy these 37 essential food items while you still can. But this isn't some doomsday prediction. Take a look at what happened in Germany when hyperinflation hit. In 1923, the Weimar Republic was hammered by hyperinflation in record time. A pound of meat that cost 36 marks less than a year before jumped to 36 billion marks practically overnight, and the U.S. is on the same crash course. But here's some good news. These 37 food items are specifically for middle-class Americans who are going through hard times financially. This may sound harsh, but rich people don't need my help. These 37 items are for Americans who won't make it without the basics and can't spend a fortune trying to survive when disaster hits. That's why instead of just getting a generic list, you'll get the info on where to get the top 3 crucial items even if you're barely making ends meet and are neck deep in debt. Along with the top items that are just as good as name brand but a fraction of the cost. In fact, a lot of big companies try to hide these trade names to keep you spending. Not to mention how to use items hiding in your cupboard to replace anything you might be missing. And most importantly, where to find the last couple of items if you get caught up in a panicked mob. As you can see, this isn't a guide that sends you to the camping store to spend hundreds of dollars on dehydrated survival food. Besides, even if you can afford it, that stuff isn't a great long-term answer. Now, it doesn't matter if you're in debt or on a tight budget. You can afford to protect your family and get the most critical food and water items on the market. But you might think this sounds too good to be true. In fact, I've had people contact me accusing me of being some kind of scam artist or hustler. So I guess the real question is, why am I doing this? Some people will accuse me of trying to make a buck off my fellow Americans' back. And you know what? They're right. To a point. After all, I've done hard work researching, writing, and preparing these survival guides, and I expect to be paid for it. After all, what's fair is fair, right? But the other piece is even more selfish. The hard truth is, if you're not with us, you're against us. Our country needs more Americans like you who are serious about preparing. Even with the ultra patriots, there's no way we can support every single person unless they do their part. Like it or not, when people's children are starving, there are going to be riots. Looters will try to take food by force, and I don't want you to be part of that mob. That means by getting you these 37 food items for your family, I've made my family that much safer. But talk is cheap. Are you ready for a look at exactly what's in this guide along with the exclusive bonuses? Plus, if you like what you see, you'll learn how you can get your hands on them without risking 1 red cent. Now for the good stuff. Here's what you get. First up is the Sold Out After Crisis 37 Vital Food Items Guide. By now you've figured out these items could be the difference between your family's survival and, well, if you're like me, you don't need to finish that sentence. Your family's survival is the only option. These items have been broken down into straightforward lists so you can get them easily and cheaply. But there's a lot more here than just a detailed list. You're also going to learn which food item will fly off the shelf first, and when you find out what it is, it'll be obvious you can't survive without it. So I'll tell you exactly where to get it before the general public and how to store it securely. And you'll discover where to get the top 3 crucial items even if you're barely making ends meet and are deep in debt. Not only that, but you'll learn a weird trick behind how to practically smell a food riot coming and how to lock down your supplies or get anything you're low on before the mob goes crazy. And one of my personal favorites, you'll find out about this ancient seed that can grow with little water, has more amino acids than an egg, and is better for you than cereals you eat now. And along with that seed, you'll discover how to use this other delicious mystery food to its fullest. It can increase the life of any vegetable, clean up dangerous spills, and keep your house safe without toxic chemicals. And I guarantee your kids will love this creamy, super cheap food item. It's high in protein, folic acid, B vitamins, minerals, dietary fiber, and doesn't go bad. If I had to pick one item and one item alone to get, this would be it. But like you've already figured out, food is only part of the equation. Obviously, you need food to survive, but what are you going to do if you don't have any water? The reality is, humans can't survive more than 3 days without water. Or how about energy? Are you going back to the Stone Age? So much of our lives depend on power. The problem is off-grid power seems so expensive. And if you're really thinking long-term, how about a food source? Food with a lengthy shelf life is great, but wouldn't a garden that no one knew was there be the best option? The problem is you're on a tight budget. I know you can't afford to buy 1,000,001 resources to get prepared. That's why I'm including these guides as special, Patriots-only bonuses, but only if you're serious about your survival. Here are the bonuses you'll get if you're truly committed to protecting yourself and your family. First up is the Water Purification Quick Start Guide. You know you need water, but those high-tech filtration systems can cost upwards of $400 for a base camp model, and the cheap low-volume filters won't come close to supporting your family. That's why I've put together this down and dirty guide on purifying your own water. It's not pretty and won't win any awards for great photography, but it'll filter your water, and it's simple to put together. And here's what your Water Purification Quick Start Guide will do for you. It'll turn a 55-gallon drum into an automatic water purifier without having to use a fancy pump or rely on electricity. After all, do you really want your water supply at the mercy of the power company? And it will give you step-by-step instructions to show you how to set up a complete water filter in a couple of hours. If you can dump dirt in a bucket, you're overqualified for this. And after you've purified your water, you'll learn the simple process to make a quick switch from water filter to storage container so you don't have to worry about running out of water in a drought. And best of all, you'll learn a friendly way to get most of the materials for free. In fact, people will thank you for taking them off their hands. Now that you've got water taken care of, time to move on to a food source. Take a look at these survival garden plans. The fact of the matter is, you can survive and even thrive with the 37 items on the list. But after a while, store-bought food gets old. Plus, you need a way to get fruits and veggies to stay healthy. Processed foods drain your body after too long. That's why the survival garden is such a good fit. You'll have fresh produce for you and your family, and it'll be 10 times easier than having to fight through a starving mob for a couple of bruised cabbages and squished tomatoes. Here's what you can do with these plans. They'll walk you through setting up your survival garden so it produces better quality organic produce than you can buy from the store. Not to mention keep you and your family healthy for longer. And most importantly, with these plans, you can grow enough food to support your family and even help your neighbors. After all, we've got to help others. This way, you don't have to starve your family to do it. By the way, if you're a busy person, this guide is for you. These plans show you how to create the perfect garden for people who don't have any free time. In fact, this will drop your stress levels enormously. And when you find yourself overflowing with delicious food, you're going to need a place to keep it all so it won't go bad, and so it won't attract any nosy neighbors. That's where you'll use the Survival Food Stockpiling and Storage Guide. Here's what you get in this guide. You'll learn the two most crucial factors that determine how much food you need to hoard for you and your family. You'll be able to use these factors to calculate an exact figure so you don't overshoot or underprepare. This is the most critical place to start, because if you store too much, you waste your valuable money and space. But on the other hand, if you store too little, your family could suffer the consequences. I don't want that to happen, and neither do you. That's why it's important that you get this exactly right. And when you're selecting the right foods to store, you'll be grateful to know the 3 specific reasons why any food should or shouldn't be stored for the long term. Trust me, if you let the wrong food into your stockpile, it has the potential to turn your whole supply into a steaming, rotten mess. Not only will this let your family down, but you'll be forced to beg your neighbors for a scrap to eat. Not to mention, you don't need to build a bunker unless you want to. You'll be able to use these 3 unusual home secrets to find space for your stockpile inside your own home. And you'll be amazed at why the packaging that food comes in is often useless and the best containers you can use instead. If you ignore this one simple trick, your food stock will be Bug City. But even with food and water, living without power can be tough at best and downright miserable at worst. So take a look at these off-grid survival backup power plans for a straightforward solution. Obviously, everything I've shown you so far works without any power. But the fact of the matter is, modern technology can be a big help, especially when it's you against the rest of the crazy world. You can use power for everything from electric fences for home defense to talking with family across the country. But big backup power companies know this and charge $1,000 to $45,000 for a complete system to power your house. The simple truth is, you don't have to pay their outrageous prices to have your own off-grid backup power that you can use for your fridge, lights, or any other appliance. In fact, you can use these plans to grab off-the-grid energy without paying for an expensive power system at all. And you can use them to set up a generator that can run for years without needing any serious work or repairs. And here's a hint. A gasoline generator isn't going to cut it. Not to mention, cut your dependence on the government and foreign oil for energy. And you'll be able to grab free power from the sun without paying an arm and a leg to big solar panel manufacturers. Heck, this makes sense before disaster even strikes. Now, like I said, this was a lot of work. Breaking food survival into simple checklists and information sheets takes days of nose to the grindstone hard work. Not to brag, but I'm pretty proud of the plans I put together. But some people feel like I should give this away. I've even had people tell me that I'm scamming Americans out of money by charging for this information. But on the flip side, there are people who think this information is going for way too cheap. See, smart Americans understand they can save money now and be prepared for a disaster. And one part you'll really appreciate is it's all under the radar. No funny packages showing up at your house, and no Uncle Sam trying to stick his nose into your business. For that matter, even your neighbors will keep quiet. So to figure out what a fair price is, I did a breakdown, item by item. For the 37 Vital Food Items Guide, it's $97. The Water Purification Quick Start Guide is $17. Their survival garden plans are $19. Their survival food stockpiling and storage guide is $21, and the off-grid survival power plans are $49. So the grand total comes to $203, less than a month's grocery bill and way less than a trip to the theme park and snacks with your family. And you'll get a heck of a lot more out of it. Face it, with these guides, you have the potential to keep families safe and have peace of mind no matter what's going on in the world. Your family needs a hero, and you can step up to the challenge. However, I don't want to price people out of this great resource. I'm trying to share this critical information with as many people as possible. So I'm going to go out on a limb and set the price of the Sold Out After Crisis Guide series at $27. Yeah, I know I can charge a lot more, but I just as soon keep the price low and help as many of my fellow patriots as possible. That means you'll get the entire package, bonus plans and all, for $27. Yeah, I know that's almost $180 off, but it's what I feel is right. So, if you're ready to discover the 37 food items you need to keep your family safe and happy, as well as how to purify your water at home, plant your own survival garden, and produce off-grid backup power, click the orange Add to Cart button below to continue. By the way, your order will be processed using the most advanced and secure 256-bit SSL encrypted secure server available, the same kind Amazon, eBay, and banks use. But I realize that some people are nervous about purchasing online. Or maybe you're strapped for cash right now, and after buying the 37 Vital Food Items guide, something will come up and you'll need your money back. That's why I'm going to take the risk and give you 60 days to return the 37 Vital Food Items guide, even if you've read all the guides and used them to prep your home for a crisis. Sure, that means some people are going to take advantage of me, but honestly, I trust my brothers in arms. After all, if we can't trust each other, who can we trust? Just to spell it out, here's my guarantee in writing. And for the record, there are no questions asked. I'll refund 100% of your money as soon as you ship the product back. There's no restocking fee or other sneaky loophole either. And as an NRA Business Alliance member, I'm serious about giving patriots the information on the 37 most important food items, or I'll refund every penny you paid. Think about how satisfying it'll be, knowing you've got your family protected and are prepared for anything. You don't have to be a big survival guy, 5th degree black belt, or Bear Grylls style woodsman to get these 37 food items that can literally keep your family from starving. So click the orange Add to Cart button below to continue your order now. Now's the time to make a decision. It's pretty simple. Do you want to be caught without these 37 crucial food items, or do you want to take responsibility and get prepared? If you're confident beyond a shadow of a doubt you're completely ready, then do nothing. But if you're even a little bit unsure, let me ask you, are you willing to chance your family going hungry because you wouldn't take a risk-free look at a short list? It's your decision. Hope to see you on the inside. By the way, maybe all you can start with is a couple days' worth of food. Those few days can make the difference between life or death in a serious survival situation. Get the 37 critical food items you need to survive now. And not only that, but when a crisis hits, humanity is at its worst. Heck, people get trampled in the mall for stupid toys at Christmas time. Imagine how much worse it'll be with a starving mob and food supplies vanishing off the shelf. Also, if you're worried about your order, let me assure you that your order is safe. My online ordering uses 256-bit secure server, just like Amazon, eBay, and banks use. And finally, don't forget, you have my 100% money-back guarantee. If you don't like the guides for any reason, just let me know and I'll process your refund immediately. I'm taking all of the risk so you can get started today. Click the orange Add to Cart button below to continue your order now and prepare before disaster hits and someone else grabs your 37 food items. See you on the inside.